Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Inside the Mirror. Today I have a wonderful, wonderful guest, one of the most beautiful men I know, my uncle, Mr. Michael Andrew Smith. Uncle Mike, what's poppin'? How are you?
Hey, what's up, brother? Good. Thanks for having me on this exciting time. I don't know if I've recorded a podcast before, so this is a first ever experience.
And as we were talking, thank you. This is going to be the 1 year anniversary episode 36.
Oh, right. Yeah.
1 year anniversary.
Inside the Mirror celebrates a year. You're like, this is where you have the birthday cake, you shove your face in the birthday cake, and we all laugh at you, and then we hose you down with a garden hose. Something like that.
Exactly. And we'll have to figure out how to do that through the infrastructure of Zoom. So, I mean, that'll take a little planning, but that's all right.
Extra fee, just for the paid version. The free version doesn't have the paid version.
That's right. Some of us have the pro plan. I don't know if you guys, those of you listening. Anyways, who are you? Introduce yourself. Who are you? What do you do? What are you about? Tell us about the mustache. No, really though. Who are you? What do you do? Who is Michael Smith?
Yeah, fair question. I think I ask myself that daily. A lot of people aren't really sure. Some people think Mike Smith is just a fake name. I'm not in the witness protection program, although some might think I am. So I am happily married after literally 19 years and 11 months and about days. So I'm celebrating my 20th anniversary, which is huge.
Congratulations.
In June. To Melissa and of course your cousins, my girls, and so I'm happily kind of holding down the fort in this great lockdown. We're in the new abnormal, I guess, but
the new abnormal. I like that.
The new abnormal. Yeah. So I listen. I've been on the planet for a few years longer than you, but not too far ahead, and had the joy of I don't know, going through life in a variety of ways, and my path has been a little bit circuitous through college and career, but ultimately, I'm a dad and husband, and I've been riding bikes. One of the dimensions of my life that's been pervasive for 30 years is the fact that I race bikes and ride bikes. So that's been a big part of my life. My faith, what my beliefs are, and my Christian faith guides me, and that kind of defines who I am as well, and kind of where worldview is, and ultimately just trying to balance kind of my time with that I've been given on this lovely little planet, and waking up every day and better than I deserve, and moving forward.
Amen. I love it. You're also so modest because you happen to have a job that makes you money, and you happen to be some type of businessman or some type of corporate leader.
I do have a job. I am.
Oh, you have a job.
Employed. Yeah, thankfully, and not this is a blessing for sure in this crazy time. So, I get to work in the field of public accounting, which is kind of like being a rock star, but it just looks slightly different. So. I get to work for a firm called KPMG, which is not a radio station. It's an accounting firm. So those four letters are a bunch of guys that got together more than 100 years ago and started a little firm, and it's gotten a little bit bigger. And so I've been there for since May 23rd of 2002. So
wow,
exactly considering, wow, this is May 22nd. So my last day at Arthur Andersen was today, 18 years ago.
Whew.
About that. That's crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Man, time flies, because I remember, even though I'm not super old, I do remember when you were with Arthur Andersen, and then all that, all that came with that, and you transitioned. That's wild.
Yeah, it's amazing what can happen to our lives. Like, I think one of the things that this whole, whether you call it the crisis, the great lockdown, the pandemic, this new abnormal, whatever you want to refer to it as, it's given us a time to reflect. And to kind of go, even in these little moments I hadn't planned on, right, Kyle, with you, to kind of go,
right,
years ago, what was I doing? What were you doing years ago? And kind of thinking through how things have evolved, and heck, we're still alive for some reason.
Just having that realization right there, which was kind of cool. I'm glad we caught that.
Yeah.
And I had that realization just a minute ago.
Right, another 1 year.
Now, do you think that has anything to do with us kind of like slowing down the pace of life due to the great pandemic or whatever we're calling it? Do you think we've all even subconsciously just everything is kind of slowed down? It seems, I know a lot is sped up, but do you think that people have subconsciously, like the idea of hive mind, which I think you're aware of, we all are kind of interconnected. Do you think everybody has kind of subconsciously slowed down kind of to have those moments? Or do you think that was just like a serendipitous moment?
Yes. I think that God works in
Understood.
mysterious ways, so fate is likely the case. And I think for
Mhm.
each of us to celebrate something that we hadn't really thought about until the moment we were connected doesn't
Right.
surprise me. When you and I get together, there's all kinds of fun things we get to celebrate, right? This happens a year of your podcast series and a few more years of me being at what I'm doing now. But besides that kind of serendipity and the connection you and I have, I think most importantly, yeah, I think thankfully we have slowed down. I mean, I've
Mhm.
had dinner with my family and kids, and we've cooked more, and I've hung out in the pool more. The kids have hung out in the pool more. I've seen my kids more. I haven't traveled like I used to.
Mhm.
I think everybody's slowing down and stepping back a little bit and recalibrating,
Mhm.
which I think we
100%.
don't do enough. In fact, even after this, the time we individually recalibrate in the mornings, whether it be breathing or exercise or reading or writing or arithmetic, whatever it is, you know, I think it's important to be able to spend some time focused daily on what matters and
Mhm.
not letting the busyness surrounding you drive you alone.
100%. And that's something that, you know, me and the people that know me, I struggle with it. I struggle with slowing down. And even during this time, I've really struggled with like not trying to fill my planner up for every second and every minute that I have. But I wanted to ask you, because I was thinking about this last night. You are in a unique situation like a lot of Americans right now, because you wear several different hats, and all those hats have now been brought in to the home, right? So that's a very nice hat you have on, but you're a father, you're a husband, you're a businessman, you're a leader. You're a leader in the community, you're a leader in your business, you're a leader in your neighborhood. You wear a lot of hats versus me, where, it's me, my cats, I kind of can. I guess my question with all that being said is, how do you compartmentalize or how are you able to detach from this and go to this and know when, what's the skill that you think you have to deploy to be able to keep all those things balanced and juggle all those balls while you're in the house, right, locked down with the 4 to 5, 6 different hats that you wear? What are the tactics to keep everything separated and not let yourself go insane?
Yeah, I think ADD is a gift, really. I think that's the key recipe. I'm kidding. So, and it's funny while you're talking about that, you got Cat in the Hat references to Dr. Seuss. You got David Copperfield experience magical abilities to compartmentalize and move forward.
And you're a comedian. Forgot that.
I'm sure Stephen Covey would have the eighth habit of a highly effective person being compartmentalization, et cetera. So apart from those three random thoughts, I think a
Yes.
lot of it is being present in the moment,
Mm-hmm.
halfway, meaning not halfway in the moment, but
Mm-hmm.
complementing being present in the moment with an ability to think about what matters. And I think what matters is usually values based, not priorities based. So
Mm-hmm.
what matters around integrity or family or doing the right thing or sharing and serving others. So whatever those things matter, I think those those values are a good filtration system to be able to figure out how to move from one thing to another and recognize that we need to be, if we're here, we're here, right? One of the, kind of going back to your other thread around kind of slowing down, I really find that this has given us some time to get through some backlog,
Mm-hmm.
whether it be work or life or whatever. It's given us some time to reach back out to friends or family we haven't in a while. It's also required, as opposed to the impromptu walk past the virtual water cooler, to have to set up some time to be intentional. But I do think it's allowed for us to create some capacity. And we don't operate with a lot of capacity. And
Mm-hmm.
so compartmentalization is usually because you don't have capacity. But another way to look at that is the way to say the gift and the ability to say no to things. And how do you say no to things? And what do you say no to? And what matters? And again, that goes back to, I think, the fundamentals of who we are. One of the aspects I love about my job is because I believe as a professional services firm, we are all here to serve in that capacity. I don't make a widget, right? I don't make a cool Jabra mics, drop to Jabra, I guess, but or I don't make Zoom. I don't make a product, but our products are people and our time
Mm-hmm.
and our intellect and our experience. And so
Mm-hmm.
likewise, we are a services firm. We're here to serve. I think we're all here to serve. And so as you keep that mantra as a core to you, I think that's an aspect of how we deal with all the diversity we're engaged with. And I think the ability to say no comes into where you're overweighted towards signals, meaning inputs from our lovely devices, right? Through the socials, as we like to call them, right? Or whatever it is. What signals are you getting that maybe you need to out of the noise?
How have you and the fam, have you guys put anything in place, or have you had conversations about the device and the constant bombardment with activity and maybe just ridiculous?
I'm making so much of the Wi-Fi we have with this family. I think we're probably keeping AT&T and others alive with the amount of volume of data that's flying through this house. So, it's interesting. You could go, I go a bunch of different directions, and everybody's got probably both a personal and professional perspective around technology and signals. But
For sure.
I got to say that I think who we are, and at least for my family, I speak to my family, is there's a connection that we feed off of, and that connection is I think innately appreciate that in a real term. And so, let me give you an example. So every night in my street, there's a group of anywhere from 3 kids to 15 kids and a few adults that are riding bikes on jumps made from lumber at the house they're building next door.
Right.
And it seems a little dorky because there's kids riding bikes doing jumps. Like, I haven't done that in forever, and I haven't busted myself yet on that. I'm pretty excited. But most importantly, people are getting outside just to spend some time together. And it's a bit organic, and some of it's because our kids are there and they want to watch their kids. Some of it's because, well, I can. I'm not traveling, or I don't have to do the sports event or anything else. And so I think that's helped balance out the inclination to be digital or to spend some time on digital. The other thing is, on my street again, we've got a 9-hole golf course.
Right.
So there's an actual kind of Ryder Cup version of it in my neighborhood, where you've got 2 different streets who have 9-hole golf courses, and they have a standing tee time at 7 p.m. every night. Like,
really?
I don't even play golf. I don't like golf.
That's cool.
It's not because I don't like the sport. It's just because it takes too long, and
Sorry, Jeff.
Man, yeah. So that guy loves it. He's quite good. And I played with you. You're not too bad either, although, whatever. But these guys are playing like every night at 7. And so
Love it.
I think as we really get to it, why do you even look at all the socials? Why do you look at all the stuff on there? It's because you want something, you need, or you desire connection, or you desire to relax, right? It's perceived as a relaxation. Reality is, we were doing that in the moments because we were too busy. A, B, it doesn't really work. And C, we actually have an opportunity to get outside and spend some time. And in Texas right now, it's not 100 degrees most of the time, or yet. So I think we've got some time to go spend outside. And I think that's balancing out as well. So that'd be my thought.
I like that you said organic, because I do think a lot of our new interactions in the new abnormal are a lot of them are just organic, just like some of these things that popped up. It's super organic, just because everything has shifted. And so it's not like, I'm not to say that we're not being intentional, but some of it is not even intentional. It's just, as humans, we adapt. Like, we haven't all, we didn't all collapse and die. I'm not saying from COVID. I'm saying we adapted. COVID hit and we adapted. We go to the grocery store differently. We do everything differently in a matter of months. Humanity has adapted. So we as humans are going to adapt to situations. And I think that's a really good positive thing, though, is that organic situations of human interaction have come out of this, which I really think is one of the top things that we lacked, at least in American society these days, is we lack authentic human interactions because we all got these devices.
Yep. I just came back and I told you I was running late today because I was at that 6th grade party. And what was cool is I got to hang out with a guy named Daryl that, I don't know that well, but he and I have been interacting for probably 3 or 4 years. Our kids are friends. And we got a chance to just talk for 30 minutes because we weren't running around between this, that, and the other thing, and really enjoyed the conversation, got to know each other a little better. And I hope everyone takes those moments. I mean, I think the adaptability of who generally who humans are create a much stronger resilience to be able to face the next challenge, because there'll be another challenge you're going to face somewhere down the road, whether it be physical or social, economic, spiritual, right? Whatever it is.
Yeah, we have to adapt. And I think it's innate in us to adapt, though. It's almost like an animalistic instinct. It's just adaptation.
That's right.
God made us so crazily wired that we have this innate animalistic just adaptation inside of us. But I did want to bring this up, is that because of this, our relationship with technology has also very quickly changed, right? You and me weren't going to do this 3 months ago. It wasn't even a thought, right? So this is just a small example.
It's really a dream. It was a dream of mine, but
just here I am. I'm almost like, what's that? The Children's Miracle Network, where I bring you a gift because
kind of, yeah. Maybe it's an adult miracle. Is that plausible?
There you go. That could be it. That might be it. Let me rethink how I presented that. But moving forward, and I've tried to stay up on tech, and I like to listen to podcasts and read articles, and there's a lot of speculation about how moving forward we are going to interact with technology, because a lot of the speculation from what I am intaking is that this is going to speed up us. I wouldn't say merging with technology, because I think we're already there, but us continuing to merge deeper with technology and maybe speed up the coming of the AI age, or whatever we want to call it. You know where I'm headed with this. Mm-hmm. What is your take as someone that works in automation? You're very familiar with AI. Is this going to speed up the process of us truly integrating with a more AI type technology or technologies?
Yeah, I think absolutely so. And I'm not, I'm clearly not a cyborg yet, but I do think, as you
about that mustache.
Yeah, I know. This is all sensory overload.
Metal.
Realize, right? I do. It's interesting. Both personally and professionally, the digital experience we have as consumers, like it worked. It worked pre-COVID really well, but our expectations are much higher. I mean, the fact that honestly, competitors of a distribution system like Amazon are working, like UPS, Federal, the U.S. Postal Service are delivering on behalf of Amazon, demonstrates our desire to have things at a certain pace, our lack of interest in necessarily an experience in a physical location, et cetera. So I think consumer patterns are being accelerated, and the adoption of digital for your grandfather, my father, ordering things online, like
it's crazy.
I got a teenager and an 85-year-old like sorting through their phone, ordering stuff. And like, you guys just chill out a little bit. Let's have a conversation.
It's crazy.
But I think it's true. So to be able to support that, the sneaker brigade, this human force that we have, you and I, and our rest of our mankind, womankind, humankind, you have to. There are tasks that we either don't want to do, or that we want to do faster, or that we need more insights to make better decisions on. And so all the world, I'm going to put my hat backwards too. That's cool. That looks horrible. All the things that we expect from just a consumer experience are going to drive the patterns of using technology in the right way. I think it's probably honestly less about the use of it. It's more meaning it will come and it will continue to accelerate at whether you believe in Kurzweil's curve or not, and your other uncle knows that one a lot better than I do. But the pace of change and the speed of change and the cost of it being accelerated. But I think the use of it and the ethics around it, and how we train machines and how we train algorithms, and through machine learning and natural language processing and all the different technologies. And I'm not a technologist. I am a business person that recognizes the value of it. I think that's where the conversation is continuing to go. Is it's not if we should, it's how should we and why should we. As the water level rises across different types of jobs that could be kind of dislocated earlier than others, because of either we don't want to do them, we need to do more of them, we need to do them faster, et cetera. I think we're going to learn more and more. I think there's a lot of buzz around regulation, lack of regulation. I think I'm in the camp right now of appreciating the principles of regulation for where we're heading with AI and the use of it. But to me, it's just like fire or a car. And I heard there's an MIT professor at a conference speak, and fire isn't good or bad. It's good when it heats up your home. It's bad when it burns down your house. And someone investigates it. A car is great for getting you somewhere, but if a car hits someone, it's not so good. So could we have a parallel analogy with AI, right? Being used for good or used for bad, and how do we think through that? And at this time, social values and societies evolved to use fire and cars in mostly the right way. It's the dominance of it. So is that with technology, whether it be blockchain or AI or whatever it is, whatever the
Mhm.
flavor of the day is. And I think that's
Mhm.
the question that is bigger.
Mhm. No, I totally agree with you. I think it's interesting. Just I wanted to go back to what you said about how UPS or USPS, FedEx, and these organizations are basically doing the dirty work for Amazon. I mean, I know they deliver their own products, but I was reading an article that the U.S. Postal Service is losing lots of money relative to what you think of lots of money. But in the grand scheme, they're losing money as the courier for Amazon. And then there's speculation of Amazon. Well, not speculation. There's talk of Amazon obviously using AI driven drones, right? Drones, and then the speeding up of that type of technology to deliver products, but also beyond that, which kind of, I know I'm saying a lot, going back to regulation, I guess is what I'm saying, is that there has to be some baseline regulation, because just like with fire or a car, we have regulations, right? Some places you can't have a campfire in your backyard. It's illegal to do a hit and run, right? There are regulations around the fire, around the car. And it seems that, in my opinion, from what I soak up from just not being a technologist also, but just being someone that's watching the market and the industries and just the advancement of that technology of AI, it does seem concerning. It seems like the technology is far beyond the regulations, if that makes sense. It doesn't seem like we've really.
I don't. I mean, that's natural, right? I mean, what kind of car laws were there when Henry Ford was, creating
That's
the early
a good point.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
cavemen had fire long before we said, burning someone's house down. And here's the. So I think it's natural for, in this case, the technology to outpunt the regulation. Use sports metaphor for you. Clearly,
Love it.
not my strong suit, but it seemed like a good one.
But you know what a punt is?
Boom. Yep. I just punted away. Oh wait, sorry. Anyway.
The foot.
So yeah, I think that's natural. I think people forget some of that.
Mm-hmm.
I think you would say in most regulatory or compliance regimes, they are usually in response to something.
Mm-hmm.
So then you start, if that's the notion, what will be the trigger that creates a response?
Mm-hmm.
And is it proactive or predictive enough, if you will, and what kind of regulations, and we're willing to do that or not? I mean, if you look at kind of even the current crisis, Bill Gates's idea and others' ideas that we could face a large global pandemic that would be significant and we wouldn't be ready for it is not something that's a new concept.
Right.
In fact, as a risk management professional and internal audit, like we've all talked about the things that are not very likely, but significant impact to organization, black swan, all those kinds of things, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the willingness to spend money to mitigate those risks is low because we realize the plausibility is also low, even still with the impact being high. And so I think this idea of risk and risk management and the velocity of change that we're experiencing, and ultimately the interconnectedness of everything, you and I, our phones, technology, everything else. If you think about it from a risk dimension, the interconnectedness of risk and the speed of onset are going to create an accelerated response pattern. I mean, the fact that even if you look at the stimulus package in the U.S., the fact that was able to be launched and addressed and checks out to you and I, or not to me, but you and to Kristen and others, was pretty significant, right? So
right.
you could argue it was too slow, but at the same time, I think the interconnectedness is, again, a pro and a con. It can allow us to make decisions faster and to create impacts, to get money to an account faster that we couldn't have done 15 years ago, probably, because we still mail into the USPS, right? So I think there's upside and downside of that, but yes, it outpaces regulation, whatever it is, in this case, technology perhaps. But I still think that's the joy of our own kind of system, if you will, as mankind, that to be able to monitor, to make changes, to elevate concerns, to act. I mean, there's no reason we have to wait for something on our own. We can make great choices to share our thoughts, to take actions that help make good decisions across the board.
Mm-hmm. Well said. Well said. You're well schooled. You must have gone to Baylor.
Oh, well, I tried.
Hey, so I know you got to go. Want to wrap this up. Want to get a few of your last thoughts as far as this is COVID Convos, the mini series, inside the mirror. So it's inside the mirror, inside. It's very complicated.
Is there a behind the scenes version also? Like where you go deeper into like the pre and post? No.
The cats have behind the scene footage, but I don't think they're willing to share that right now. It's murky. It's murky. Yeah. Last thoughts, anything that you would, I would ask maybe more specifically, last thoughts geared towards younger people trying to move forward through this, young professionals maybe, because you're an expert in that field of being a young professional because you're super young.
Young, by the way? Are you still considered young?
Look, man. This isn't about me. You are the guest.
Oh, right,
I want to treat you as a guest. But I think if we could be helpful to young people, because you obviously work with a lot of young professionals, right? And you onboard people before this. I don't know if you're onboarding right now. But what are some things as somebody in the business world? What are some things now? Because hiring is not what it was 3 months ago, right? Getting a job is not what it was 3 months ago. What are some dynamic things that you would be looking for in someone looking for a job moving forward? What are maybe some top things that you think would help push you to the top of the pile if you're trying to get a job right now? You came out of college or you're a few years out, you lost your job, you're looking for – how can somebody, in the industry now or in the industries, professional industries, what are those dynamic things that you're looking for now over that piece of paper?
One of the things I love about your questions is because I've got there's 20 questions in there and they're all great. They're all great. I can answer any one of them.
I'm going to work on that.
It's pretty good. No, I'm just kidding. I really do like the point of your whole point, as I play it back to you, is around how do we, and I would include you in this as well, as leaders, share perspective such that others can learn from it, right? Whether it be a job or making an impact. And so first thing I'd say is around kind of the balance of individual perspective and unity. Okay. And I think today we have an option that's enabled by a variety of ways, both in our individuals and our groups, to have a very strong individual perspective that deteriorates the unification that we can have. 100%. We also have the chance to have a very strong perspective that does unify. And so I think we have to have a balance of kind of what I call emotional intelligence and other EQ, right? And that balance of EQ and IQ to be able to say, how do we use our perspectives, whatever those may be, in a way that complements and drives us forward and not regresses us. Now, correction is part of it. So it doesn't mean we can't correct, admonish. So the kids say, and we can't encourage. But I think there's always a need to encourage. So I think that's one thing I think that theme is important, and where I see people, whether they be looking for a job or otherwise, kind of thinking through their voice, kind of how do they use their voice to the greater good or to the good of others. I think there's something valuable. Second thing is impact. I think there is a shortage of people willing to make an impact, not just for themselves, but for others. And it is hard. It is hard in today's society to make an impact that can be meaningful. And there's a lot of ways to do that. And so it's a lot of doors to go through and a lot of doors to choose from. And so I guess to some degree, having a mindset, I want to do something, I think that's probably innate in the people that we work with. A lot of whether it be passion or purpose, whatever those kind of trigger words are. But I think the desire to action and make an impact and move forward is important to go forward. The other thing is that, I think practically speaking, none of us are the smartest kid in the room. And so there's a certain inquisitiveness and humility that have to be balanced in how we pursue whatever we're pursuing. And there's a way that I think people really, have to move forward in that. And each of us, because we're uniquely designed, will have an inclination towards some dimension of all 3 or 4 of those topics I just hit. And I think we need to know that that's good. Like, we were designed this way for a purpose. Let's run that way, maybe not topically, but stylistically. And that's fine. But also, I think there's an awareness around how that fits together the bigger puzzle. I'm very different than the colleagues I have. My colleagues are far better at many things than I am. My team has complimented me tremendously. I couldn't do what I do without my team. They do a lot of the way they think, the way they interact, the way they execute. complements how we move forward. It takes all of us to get there. So
Mm-hmm.
those are a couple of things I think about. Along all that, I think the human character that you were talking about, adaptability, which leads to resilience.
Mm-hmm.
I think people need to remember that they are, and if they don't feel that way, perhaps they're not surrounded by the right encouragement. So, all those kind of characteristics aside, don't forget your innate human resilience. Care for yourself, right? Your mental, emotional, spiritual, physical dimensions, right? And how you encourage and are able to unify, you're able to create an impact, right? You're able to lean in, kind of balance, kind of what inquisitiveness you have with both your lack of expertise and the desired expertise. That's what I'd say.
I love it. I love it. I think to kind of wrap this up, you also like to make some good points, which I'm very jealous of. No, I think those are great points. And I think, I'd kind of end it with saying like this to wrap up what you said. I liked where you ended it at. I like where you landed the plane. It's kind of, you were talking about self-care and understanding all, physical, spiritual, mental, taking care of yourself. And I think that's super important. I love that point. And I'm probably going to clip that and use that for Instagram, FYI, after this, because I think that's super important and something that I'm trying to work on. And I heard someone say it recently like this, is that the way you take care of yourself is reflected in the way that you treat other people, right? So you can watch somebody and how they treat other people and almost make an observation on how they treat themselves, right? Because it starts here and then the ripple comes outward, right? You don't start by treating others right and then treat yourself right. You got to treat yourself right and take care, check those boxes of mental, physical, spiritual, those things. And then it starts to become, as the word you used earlier, organic. It starts to become organic, just the way you behave. It becomes organic. Kindness starts to pour out. Empathy starts to come out because you've given those things to yourself,
Right. Well, I think it's important. It ultimately connects back to who we are and the values you have and all those things, those 4 dimensions. Even if you execute those, if they're only for yourself, again, back to we're here to serve in general, then you're going to be suboptimal at best.
Suboptimal. Gosh, we got to end it right there. That's amazing.
Great word, isn't it? Use that in conversation on the table. Wow, your friends. I'd like some pizza, but that flavor is suboptimal. I'd really like I'd like a more topping.
Yeah, we're in a suboptimal time right now, but we're going to move forward.
Great. Hey, happy Memorial Day weekend, by the way.
You too.
Good time although we're all a little bit in the great lockdown, a little more shelter. We got a lot more freedom than any other situation. So
100%.
I encourage you guys to get out and celebrate those who serve and the veterans and have a great Memorial Day. Not just a barbecue and a picnic, but for the bigger purpose.
Observe it. Well, thanks for your time, brother. I will see you soon.
All right.
And have a great weekend.
Thanks for the time.
God bless. See you later, brother.
Later.